A deadly shooting during Sunday service. One person is dead, 7 others hurt, and it could have been a lot worse if it wasn't for an unexpected hero. Signs of hope. Families are finally hearing from their loved ones in Puerto Rico. Areas around these cell towers are now becoming a hub for those trying to stay in touch. Plus,
at the twilight's last gleaming,
a silent gesture sends a loud message. NFL players locking arms, raising fists, and taking a knee, united in defying President Trump. Thanks for joining us. I'm Carolina Leid. Candace is off tonight. Politics overshadowed plays and passes across the NFL. President Trump called out the league over players kneeling down during the national anthem. Those players, Ryan, and many more fired back with a display of unity.
Absolutely did, Carolina. A peaceful protest at nearly every game today, all in response to President Trump calling for NFL players to be fired if they kneel during the anthem. All while the catalyst of this movement, Colin Kaepernick, still is without a job. The former 49ers quarterback first knelt last season, calling attention to police brutality and racial injustice. Trump continuing the discussion on Twitter, blasting the NFL by saying they don't back the U.S. and then tweeting this: sports fans should never condone players who do not stand proud for their national anthem or their country. NFL should change policy. And by change, he means NFL owners either suspending or cutting players for disrespecting the flag. Trump doubled down today.
This has nothing to do with race. I've never said anything about race. This has nothing to do with race or anything else. This has to do with respect for our country and respect for our flag.
Now, Trump's comments prompted larger protests today. Players, coaches, owners, all joining in solidarity. Some locking arms. You see Mike Evans kneeling with his hand over his heart. Some raising their fists. A few teams, actually like the Pittsburgh Steelers, decided to stay in the locker room during the anthem altogether.
Not to be disrespectful to the anthem, to remove ourselves from this circumstance. People shouldn't have to choose.
Villanueva stood near the tunnel with his hand over his heart. Let's not forget, of course, about our Bucs. Wide receivers Deshaun Jackson and Mike Evans, both kneeling today in protest during their game against the Vikings.
And this goes beyond football. The Oakland A's catcher Bruce Maxwell became the first MLB player to take on the silent protest. And check this out, a picture that's going viral. A 97-year-old World War II veteran showcasing his support as well, saying, quote, "Those kids have every right to protest." Of course, not everyone supports this protest. We're sure to see more reactions coming out during the week. The president surely had a busy weekend. Today, he unveiled a new travel ban that includes North Korea and Venezuela. Also on that list, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Syria, Yemen, and Chad. His previous ban on 6 Muslim-majority countries expired today. The new list no longer includes Sudan. The restrictions apply to foreign nationals from countries the administration says have either refused to share information on terrorism or countries who haven't taken necessary security precautions. The U.S. Supreme Court will hear arguments next month on whether the current ban is in violation of the Constitution. More information now on a 10 News alert we sent you this evening. A Dade City man is now behind bars after deputies say he admitted to pouring a scalding water on a 2-year-old girl. He first told deputies the girl was burned by a lighter that exploded while she was sleeping. But deputies say he later changed that story, saying he didn't take her to the hospital until the next day. The child has second-degree burns on much of her body. 26-year-old Jonathan Lee Howard is being held on $10,000 bond. Why did a man storm into a church and indiscriminately start shooting people? Right now, Nashville police are trying to figure out the motive here. One person was killed, 7 others hurt. Investigators say the suspect, 25-year-old Emmanuel Sampson, used to regularly attend services at the Burnett Chapel Church. There were about 50 people in the building Sunday morning at the time of this shooting. Witnesses say an usher's bravery saved so many lives.
And he was shooting, and then he stand in the pulpit, and he started shooting more and looking to his left. And that's when he came in the front, in the middle, and then this guy came and fighting with him and tackling him down.
During that confrontation, police say the gunman shot himself, probably not intentionally. Most of the shooting victims were elderly. Sampson is being charged with murder. Investigators say he is a native of Sudan with legal U.S. residency. People across Puerto Rico are flocking to working cell towers, some driving dozens of miles to get there. Hurricane Maria knocked out power and phone services across the island, but as you can see, some calls are getting through. Check out this line of parked cars along the highway in San Juan. This is one of just a few areas with cell signal. Very difficult for people. There are tens of thousands of Puerto Ricans living here in Tampa Bay, and the past few days have been torture for so many as they wait for those calls to come in. Tonight, 10 News reporter Josh Sidorowitz is finding that while many are still waiting and wondering, some are finally feeling some relief after hearing from their relatives.
For Nilsa Garcia,
I just spoke to my sister yesterday.
it is the call she had been waiting days to get.
It was crazy. I was glued to the news, calling her 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, 7 in the morning, 11 o'clock at night to see.
She now knows her sister, 2 nieces, and several grandchildren in Puerto Rico are all okay. For now, they're finding shelter, food, and a prayer in a church near their home. And while Garcia still worries about the long recovery that lies ahead for them, the news is welcome relief. The restaurant owner says her Tampa Bistro has turned into a haven of sorts for area families also struggling to connect with their loved ones.
I haven't heard from my father's side and a couple of my grandparents.
17-year-old Luis de Jesus is among them, but says he's hopeful, knowing his dad and stepmother are in Ponce on the southern end of the island, where reports say the area fared well.
I do my best to not just overreact or freak out or anything like that, but at the same time, the sooner I hear from them, the better it will be.
Across Tampa Bay, volunteers spending their weekend collecting donations and food to ship to storm victims. 10 News reporter Bianca Gralo was at a donation drop-off spot in Tampa Sunday when this moment happened.
As you can see, I'm 8 months pregnant, so my mother is going crazy because she thinks I'm gonna give birth and I'm okay. All I wanted to hear was her voice.
A call bringing some much-needed calm after the storm. In Tampa, Josh Sidorowitz, 10 News.
I know a lot of you are trying to get in contact with your family on the island. My family's going through it too. So I want to show you another resource you can use to get information about specific cities and towns. Here is an interactive map. You can click on a town and get information and what's going on there, that great information. So to be clear, this is on the Univision website. They're pulling information from their reporters, local newspapers, and social media. For example, when you click on Aguadilla in the northwest part of the island, you can watch a video someone posted on Twitter showing the destruction on the beach. Keep in mind, some places are unreachable, so the information is scarce. But this is another option if you're looking for information right now. As we recover from Hurricane Irma, your lawmakers are preparing for the next storm.
And we saw some showers and thunderstorms earlier today. However, we're going to be off to a nice dry stretch as we start your work week.
Some of us are starting to get back to normal after Hurricane Irma, but I know many of you and people across the state have a long way to go. State lawmakers are already thinking about the next storm. 10 News reporter Liz Crawford explains how the legislature is looking at lessons from Irma.
Last week, Speaker of the House Richard Corcoran created a temporary committee. Their sole purpose is to look at how the state handled Hurricane Irma and how they can do it better next time.
I think we're going to look at things such as, above ground versus underground power lines, and how can we harden our electrical grid to make sure that we don't have power outages, which doesn't create as many issues for particularly vulnerable populations like those in hospitals and nursing homes.
The committee is made up of 21 representatives, all from areas directly impacted by Hurricane Irma. About a handful are from the Tampa Bay area. They'll meet to talk about electric grids, shelters, curfews, evacuation zones, and last but not least, money, where to get it and how to spend it. While the federal government will pay for much of the storm, the state still needs money for recovery. Florida is one of about a dozen states that doesn't have a dedicated disaster fund, but the state does have reserve money to to be put to use.
And that can be used for two primary things. One, states of emergency, like we've had in the aftermath of Irma, and things like budget shortfalls. We also have the catastrophe fund, which has upwards of $17 billion in the catastrophe fund, which we've had since the early 90s.
Florida's unique insurance program is nicknamed the CAT Fund and helps private insurance companies immediately cut checks for their customers' claims. Reinsurance through the CAT Fund takes over when private insurance companies reach a certain amount of loss, and it prevents rate spikes. You see, the CAT Fund was created after Hurricane Andrew in 1993. Now, much like Andrew, Hurricane Irma will likely spark new legislation. That process is already underway with this latest committee set to meet in the coming weeks. Liz Crawford, 10 News.
All right, the showers and thunderstorms we saw today, they are now offshore and things are pretty quiet around the Tampa Bay area, and they're going to stay that way actually through the better part of the week for many of us. Check this out. All the green you see on the radar, at least onshore right now, that's just fall secco. We do have some storms out in the Gulf, so if you're in Sarasota County, you're right on the beach, you're looking west, you may see a little bit of a lightning show off in the distance there, but beyond that, we are looking great, and we're going to see more of the same as we look ahead to your forecast for tomorrow. We'll see those temperatures starting off right around 76 degrees as you're heading outside getting the kids on the school bus. And for you, as you're enjoying that morning cup of coffee, you're in good shape. We are going to stay rain-free, so you won't need to worry about the umbrellas by and large tomorrow. Whatever rain we do see, and it's going to be very little of it, is going to be later on during the afternoon. Clear night as we look out over downtown Tampa with light northeast winds. So we can thank that slightly drier air for helping to drop those temperatures a little bit more overnight. Still not a big difference, but not quite as soupy as we've seen over the last, several months at this point. Those dew points coming down just a hair on the backside of Maria, which again, no threat to Florida at this point. So see through the afternoon, we get a couple of showers in there, really hit or miss, and we're looking for a coverage around 20%. As we head into Tuesday, that drops even more. We keep those north and northeast winds in play, and really other than maybe a couple of quick little pop-ups, we're going to stay dry for the first half of the week. So umbrellas aren't going to be key so much as finding ways to stay cool in the afternoon, because I do expect we are going to hit 90 degrees without much in the way of cloud cover during the afternoon, and of course without much in the way of thunderstorms to help kind of put a damper on those temperatures a little bit as we head into about 3-4 o'clock. Notice a lot of 90s there, some upper 80s right along the coast, but with those northeast winds, we're not going to see a lot of differentiation. So our ranges are only going to be between about 88 to 92 all across the Bay Area tomorrow. You fall somewhere in that range. And of course, we still have to factor in some level of humidity, so it is going to feel several degrees warmer than that. Heat indices likely approaching 100 during the afternoon. Here's Maria. Again, no threat to Florida. The only folks that really need to keep an eye on this are folks in the outer banks of North Carolina. That cone's a little close, but still looking like the worst of this is going to stay well out over open waters and slide right between there and Bermuda, and not going to be making any additional impacts to land. Obviously, it has done a number in the Caribbean already. So here you go. Temperatures in the 90s for the better part of the week. We will see those rain chances go up Friday, and then those temperatures will drop back into the upper 80s.
Easier to do if Dalvin Cook was toting the rock for the Buccaneers. That's not the case, though, because Tampa Bay passed on the former Seminole in the NFL draft. Well, Cook showed them what they were missing out on today. The FSU product was a star. He tomahawk chalked the Bucs defense in half. 26 carries for 97 on the ground, another 72 yards receiving, plus his first career NFL touchdown. The Bucs' 4 running backs combined put up just 26 yards. Cook's season total on the ground is now up to 288. That is the most by a rookie in Vikings history. Now, this feels eerily similar to last year's Week 2 loss in Arizona. Winston threw 4 picks that day, a 40-7 thumping by the Cards. Better hope the Bucs heal up quick. They've got 2 games in 11 days with the 0-3 Giants in town, followed by the Pats on Thursday Night Football. So in the NFC South, there's the Matt Ryan-led Falcons, and then there is everybody else. Who had the Saints, by the way, marching into the Queen City and stomping the Panthers? Not this guy, Cam Newton. Threw 3 picks, but he did end up finding the end zone on this run in the third, made it an 11-point game. Drew Brees threw for 3 scores. Saints also rushed for $149 on the ground. Alvin Kamara here punches it in for 6. Saints avoid an 0-3 start. As for the Falcons, they escaped by the skin of their teeth. Lions driving in the waning seconds here. Matthew Stafford finds golden tape for the score, but wait a minute. It was reviewed and overturned. Down at the 1 with 8 seconds to go. No timeouts left, so the 10-second runoff takes effect, and the Birds would stay undefeated. They are now the lone 3-0 team left in the NFC, and with the Bucs and Panthers both losing today, the Falcons sit comfortably atop the NFC South.
Tonight's lottery numbers are brought.
Dozens of people stopped by the South Florida Museum today to remember and celebrate the life of Snooty the manatee. At 69, he was the world's oldest known manatee. He died after swimming into an area of his aquarium used to access plumbing. Many people were heartbroken when they heard the news, but that wasn't the case today. They were just celebrating his life and what he meant. As the oldest manatee in captivity, he offered insight into the breed's health and habits. He even became the unofficial mascot of Manatee County.
We've been here for at least since 1995, and I really loved coming down to see Snooty, and I think he was a big draw. You know, people used to just love to come, and especially because Snooty was here, and you know, he was our Snooty, was Bradenton's Snooty. And
people at today's event were able to write down their favorite memories of Snooty in his remembrance book. The museum also gave away these souvenirs so they could always remember him. My daughter was excited at the zoo yesterday, I think because of Snooty. She understands manatees a little better.
Anytime I see a manatee, Snooty's always the first one that comes to mind. Kind of synonymous anytime you see them.
Ashley, last look at weather.
All right, so umbrellas are not going to be your top priority over the next few days. It is actually going to be some pretty warm temperatures. Looks like we're going to hit 90 until Thursday. After that, our rain chances start to creep back in. But what's going on in the meantime is we're actually seeing northeast winds that are keeping things pretty dry. So we've only got 10 to 20% rain chances for the better part of the week.
Get out there in the beach early in the day.
There you go.
I like where your head's at. Thanks for joining us tonight. Don't forget Brightside starting at 4:30 in the morning.